as everyone joins us, we want to welcome you to the Ohio Family Engagement Leadership Summit. We're so glad that you have joined us on this day of professional learning, and we're really excited for this next session. My name is Whitney Gurman, and I will be the session's moderator. This is session 20, Inside Out, Centering Student Voices to Shape School Climate. If you have any questions, concerns, or have technical issues throughout the session, please feel free to message me privately throughout the chat. To ensure that all get the most out of the day, we ask that participants turn off their webcams and microphones, unless you're one of our speakers. And if you have questions for the presenter, use the chat feature. Our presenter is going to answer as many as they can in real time, but I'll also collect those questions. And you can join the conversation on Twitter. Be sure to use the hashtag OHSummit23 to share your thoughts. And now I'm going to turn it over to our presenters. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Whitney. We are super excited to get to talk with you all. Super excited and probably a little bit nervous, if I can speak for everybody else on our team here. But we are going to be talking about student voice, which I know is a super important part of family engagement, but not a part that we always focus on. There's a lot of times in education that student voices actually get left out, whether we're focusing on teacher voices or administrators or community voices or in family engagement as well. Students are a super important part of families. We wanted to take the time to center them in our presentation here, but also kind of tell you a bit of our story of how we use student voice at our school, Lakeview Junior High in Pickerington, Ohio. So we're going to jump in, and there are a lot of moving parts here. So if there's some technical difficulties throughout, please just bear with us. We're figuring it out as we go. We are all still in our school building right now. So we're going to introduce the team that we have who's going to be presenting. My name is Ryan Max. I'm a school counselor at Lakeview Junior High. This is my 5th year here. I'm also a doctoral student in the counselor education program at Ohio State University, starting my 3rd year in that program. And I will pass the mic, so to speak. We're going to go just along the top row, and then we'll bounce down to the bottom row, and everybody can introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah. You're muted. Hi, everyone.
We're coming back.
Okay, we're back. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Maroney. I'm a school counseling intern here at Lakeview, and I am in my 2nd year of my school counseling program at Ohio State.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ben Baptist. I am the principal at Lakeview. This is my 1st year as principal of the building. It's my 4th year in the building overall.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rugi Lee, and I am in 8th grade, and I'm one of the people who's going to be speaking for student voices.
Hi, I'm Belen Mendoza, and I am an 8th grader at Lakeview Junior High, and I am a student help with student voice.
Awesome. So that's us. We also want to know a little bit about you. So Sarah's going to introduce this for us.
Yes. Can everyone hear me? Okay.
Got a thumbs up from Whitney.
Okay, awesome. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so we are curious to hear about everyone in the audience. So if you just want to scan that Mentimeter or click the link, we'd love to learn your connection to education and then where you are zooming in from. So go ahead and scan that Mentimeter.
All right, and this is me doing my best to navigate in real time here. Thank you, Whitney. These are some of the technical difficulties that we're managing. I appreciate the grace from you all as we just figure out how the best way to do this. All right. Can everybody see that? All right. So in the room here, we've got a couple of different types of folks with different connections to education. Support services is how I'd classify myself. So school counselors, social workers, there's a lot of different roles that can kind of go into that. Not surprisingly, a lot of family engagement leaders. I think that's what I was expecting to have the most of. At least one graduate student or undergrad student. Rugi and Belaine didn't get an opportunity to respond, but I know we've got 2 K-12 students here with us too, because they're on our team, and a couple of folks who are family members, and that's maybe in addition to some of their other roles. We will take a peek here at the second question. And again, not surprising, lots of folks that are from Ohio. I know that's where we're kind of located here and situated. Some folks who are from Pennsylvania. And if you weren't able to scan the code or participate as kind of we intended, I apologize for that. But I know we might have some folks from other places around the region and the country as well. I think anytime that we have a presentation, it's important to think about the things that we talk about from our context in your specific context. So not everything that works for our school and our building is going to make sense in your school, in your district, in your building. But some of the things that we share are transferable. They're just plug and play, things that hopefully you can take back to your work and introduce as you're trying to build student voice. But it's important to understand that context and understand the realities of the students and the families and the community members from wherever you're coming from. So we like to start some of our presentations just with kind of acknowledging that and acknowledging where folks are coming from. So we're going to do a little bit of introduction, and then there's going to be an opportunity as we go through for you all to let us know what you want to talk more about. So that's kind of where we're going to go here. And I apologize because the second thing that's going to happen is just a reality of us being in a school. So I'm going to talk a little bit and introduce some of these big concepts, and then we'll come back. We'll probably skip ahead to an activity that we need to do if the announcements become too much of a burden for us here and something that interrupts so that you can't hear us. But we're talking about student voice, and one of the this is the definition that we kind of use to describe what student voice is, but I want to highlight just the important words that I hope stick with you as we go through. So student voice is not just a collection of student feedback. It's not just saying, hey, what did you think? But it's giving students this power. It's giving them ownership so that they can share their perspectives, they can share their experiences, and they have an opportunity to positively change their environment. They can impact the way that we practice here as educators. They can impact the policies that we have, they can impact procedures, all of these things that students aren't always given the opportunity to have control over. Centering student voice is something that should kind of bring them to the table in that conversation. So it shifts the position that students have in education from one that's just receiving to one that's co-creating and at the table as well. So really, we're talking about putting students at the center and being the principal stakeholders for their education. A lot of times in education, students get to kind of sit and get, right? They get to sit in their seats and everybody's facing forward and we're doing the same thing. But we want to start to shift that and give students that voice and make them active participants in earning their education. And there's some really great positive outcomes that we know come from building student voice and giving students opportunities to participate in this way and kind of have that ownership in their education. So self-efficacy is one of those things that we see very quickly. When students are given more opportunities to take ownership of their learning, they feel more capable. They feel like they can do more. They feel that sense of empowerment, which can be just really impactful for their current situation, but also for future educational outcomes. And we see that specifically in marginalized populations. So we have this opportunity to give voice to a group of stakeholders and students, and sometimes specifically marginalized groups of students where they haven't had a voice before, and the impact of that can be really profound. It can increase leadership skills, and it can build this sense of school belonging. And school belonging is something I want to talk about for another minute here, just because it's super important. So the CDC has recognized school belonging as something that is just one of the biggest things that they can highlight for how we can help students build resilience and help recover and heal from the pandemic, and just build that resilience and those skills moving forward. So there are a ton of benefits to increasing students' sense of belonging at school. And we're talking about it from the lens of using student voice to do that. So LePan et al. Is just one example of some research that's been done on the positive academic and non-academic impacts of building student sense of belonging. So it's not just that we have students that feel like they belong at school because we have worked to give them a voice, and that's great, and they feel better, and we're excited about that. We also see their test scores increase. We also see their engagement with school and with leadership opportunities and AP courses and all of those types of things improve as well. So it's worthwhile, kind of regardless of the type of impact that you're trying to have on for your students, whether it's academic or you're focused on a social emotional goal or you're focused on college and career and graduation rates and things like that. School belonging is something that can be really important and beneficial in that process. So we're focusing on student voice. We're talking about sense of belonging along the way. And we're shifting the mindset, like we mentioned earlier, and like Whitney dropped in the chat, that we're changing from this sit and get kind of mentality for students, that they're there just to receive. This is a very old illustration of what education might look like. And it also is a lot of times what education can look like today. I think this image is from around 400 AD, and we have come a long way and also not very far a lot of times. So we're shifting that mindset to one maybe from rows like that to maybe more circles, where we're including student voice. We're kind of including them as decision makers in a different way, bringing them to the table so that it's less just receptive and more of this collaboration. The way that as school counselors, we kind of conceptualize that is from this theoretical perspective that we call advocating student within environment. And I'm not going to dive super deep into this because I could. I'm very nerdy about a lot of things, and this is one of them. But generally, it's just the idea that our job as school counselors, our job as educators, is to prepare the students to understand their strengths, to highlight those, help them grow and develop, and get them ready, but also to get the environment ready for those students that are going to be moving through it. So we think about this from a systems perspective. We can talk about classrooms and schools and communities, and families are in there at a level as well. So our job as educators, our job as school counselors or teachers or family engagement liaisons is to build up the strengths and the skills and abilities of those students and get them ready, and also at the same time get the system ready so that students can be the ones who are exercising their voice. Students can be the ones who are owning their education and making changes and impacting the world around them, so that we're not doing that for them, but we're helping them have an avenue to have that impact themselves.
Hey, Ryan.
Yes.
I believe that we have a comment from a student who'd love to share.
I feel like partnership is also a really good way to like communicate and like have communication with certain people.
Yeah, say more about that, Rugi.
Like, cause sometimes, and like I feel like it's good to choose your partners because sometimes people aren't comfortable with like the people that the teachers put them with.
So even just having student voice in the classroom when you get to do group work, getting to choose, have that control over, okay, who do I get to work with and what does that look like, can make you enjoy that more or make the assignment go better? What do you think?
You're like just everything like becomes easier because sometimes like you get put with a person like you can't really talk to things, or like some people get like embarrassed if like they say something and like it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Always good to put people like with other people who they're comfortable with, like sharing with.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you spoke up. And I think we can try to do our best sometimes to like figure that out and know who all of your friends are and connect you, but it's so much easier if we let you have a say in that, right? Because you know more of who your friends are and where you're going to feel comfortable and what's going to work best for you a lot of times as well.
Because some people just don't like improvement from like other students. Like some people like take it from their friends, but some people just don't like when other people who are not their friends like correcting them.
Yeah. And hopefully that's something that we work on and get better at too, but not everybody's there yet. So making sure that people are ready or comfortable in the space and comfortable with their partner can be super important. I love that.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to do another activity with you all to give you a little bit of an idea of, well, one, it's one strategy, one intervention that you can use to work with your students, but it's also going to give you a little bit of an idea of what it might feel like to participate in the activity. So we're going to take a couple of minutes, and you're going to have a chance to participate by uploading photos. So those can be any photograph that you want. Please keep them appropriate because we are going to be sharing them. So you can choose to make this a photograph that's already on your phone. I keep saying photograph, and I feel like I'm about 150 years old when I say the whole word. Picture, you can use those too. But you can choose one that's already on your phone. You can take a picture of something that's in your environment that you think matches how you're feeling about this thing, or you can just Google. You can find something on the internet, find a photo that you think represents how you feel about the different prompt that we have. So we're going to have 3 prompts. It's going to be how you've been feeling at work. It's going to be how students have been feeling at school, and how you've felt so far today at this summit, this conference, this thing we've all been doing together. So the way that we will do that, again, I got to click more times than I think I need to, is through this website called Slides With. And we're going to end the event that we practiced on and start a new one here. I don't get to pick what our code is, but it's spicy this time, so that's wonderful that I didn't get control over that, and that's how that went. But if you're able to, scan the QR code here, and you can participate with us. And then the thing that's going to happen next is if you scan the QR code and you join, you set your name, you set your picture, and you share your photos, it's going to randomly pick 3 of them for us to look at, and you'll get an opportunity to kind of share a little bit about what that picture means to you, or explain why that was the picture that you chose. So if you're not comfortable with sharing the photos and you don't want to, that's totally fine. You can just be an observer. But if you want to participate and you want to scan the QR code, go ahead and do that. We'll let a couple more folks join here, and then we'll get going. I'll give it another 10 seconds or so as people decide whether they want to participate in that kind of thing or not. I appreciate you all even being here on a Friday afternoon. The fact that there are as many of you here participating as there are is just amazing. It's really encouraging that you want to hear what we have to say. All right, we are going to move forward with the folks that we have in here. Whew, Whitney, almost didn't make it. I almost clicked past. All right, so just to review, we're going to give you those 3 prompts. You're going to upload a picture from your phone, from the internet, wherever you have. You can take a picture of something that's on your desk or outside your window if that matches the prompt, and then we'll go from there. So first one is, how have you been feeling at work this week? How have you been feeling at work this week? Upload whatever picture you have there, and then as we share the pictures, you'll be able to interact like you would on Facebook or Instagram or whatever social media you use. You can give a thumbs up, you can like things, you can, I guess you could downvote things and give a thumbs down if you really wanted to. Hopefully we'll have more positive energy than that as you go through. So find a photo that you have, something on the internet. If it's not working, somebody let me know because I'll just keep rambling. But upload that here. And this is an example of something that we call photo voice. And we're going to have an opportunity to talk more about it in a couple of minutes. But the idea is that there are some inherent benefits to getting to use pictures to describe to describe feelings, to describe experiences, to describe perspectives. And it really gives the voice and the power to whoever has the camera. So you get to use things that are specific to your context, your environment. And it can really just, if I had to guess or give it a number, I'd say it's probably about 1,000 words. I think I just came up with that myself for how many words this picture might be worth. But we're gonna move forward, and oh yay, this is perfect. I did not plan that. Blaine and Rugi, thank you. So this is how you've been feeling at work this week, right? What does this picture mean for you guys?
Like, it's good because, like, I've been getting my work done, and like, I've just been having a really good time at school, and it's like a lot easier than I expected.
It's also like a second study hall, so you get to finish
Yeah.
your work mainly at school.
I love that. Rugi and Blaine are some of our office helpers here at school, so their job is to help us out in the office. So I feel like that's a win for you and I, Mr. Baptist, that things are going well at work for Rugi and Blaine.
I mean, it's like walk around the school and like give out passes. So
Yeah, that's awesome. And we got some likes. People are responding to you there. Joy, you get to go next. Ooh, I have no idea what's going on in this picture, Joy.
Well, I just feel very connected. This is a picture of a meeting that we were collaborating with different community partners at one of the schools that I support. And if I had to describe it, it would just be connected. So
That's perfect. Thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate that. And Whitney. Ooh,
Hi, this obviously isn't me. This is something I found from the internet. I have had a lot of ideas and inspiration this week at work, and I'm a PhD student. I like the picture because she's not like all the way smiling. Like, there's still some things I'm like, I don't know what I think of that yet. I'm still like grappling with stuff. But yeah, that's how I've been feeling this week.
I
Thanks.
love that. Thank you, Whitney. I think that's a great example. So we'll jump in and keep things kind of focused on students here. And just for time, we might make this the last part of our photo voice activity, but find another picture with the prompt for how students have been feeling at school this year, how you think students have been feeling at school. And we'll go through the same process and check in and let people have a chance to share a story about theirs. And then we'll get back to the rest of our content. I went way too fast. I maybe made Diana the only one that could actually participate in that. Are people still able to upload something there? And did I close it out when I accidentally clicked? I may have closed it out. Nope. Okay, we can still get a couple more pictures in here. I didn't want to make it so that I was guaranteeing that Diana was the one who had to talk just because they were the first one to submit. That's not fair. But we'll give a couple more seconds here, and then we'll spin the wheel and see who gets to share this time.
All right, Mr. Max, I think we're logged back in to the slide with, so photos coming in 1 second.
Okay, awesome. I did not mean to kick everybody out. It's not personal. I apologize. Give just a couple more seconds, and if this is what we're able to do, then we'll use this and we'll keep going. I want to make sure that we give you all a chance to participate as well. So I'm gonna keep us moving, and oh my goodness, Diana, it is still you first, and I'm so excited that it is.
That's all right. Can you hear me? Is it working?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. This is a real picture from a week ago. I'm an elementary principal, and these are our kids. And this is how I think our kids are feeling. They're excited about school. We had a little pep rally. I think they might be cheering because if they raise a certain amount of money, they get to slime me. So that might be why they're excited. But yeah, we've had a great start to the year, and they are a happy crew. So
We are a happy crew. But unbridled joy. This is such an excitement on everybody's faces. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
Ooh, I'm I'm going to say Mamina, and if I mispronounce that, please correct me.
No, you're correct, Nina. I think a lot of students feel busy.
Yes, I agree. What kind of context or what's your connection to students? Do you have a building that you work in?
Different buildings, multiple
Different buildings. Okay.
Yeah, I just think they feel busy.
Yeah, I would imagine that you feel busy as well, moving around to multiple buildings like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. And Whitney, you're stuck with us. You're gonna have to share again.
No problem. I've just been thinking, I have a 9-year-old who like wants to be on TikTok, and I've recently gone off social media myself, and I just worry about you young people on social media. I want to make sure you're okay and safe, and there's a lot of distractions and busyness. So I sound old, but it's really from a place of caring.
I get it. At least the two that we have in our call with us today hear me talk every day, so they're, I think, probably used to some adult voices like that. Well, thank you all so much for participating in that. That's just one example of kind of a tool that you can use to encourage student voice and also give students that power of, it's a little bit atypical. It's not how we always ask for their opinion. It's not a survey, but something that they can engage with the way that maybe they're a little bit more used to, right? Taking a picture and sending a picture and posting it and things like that, and being able to like and respond in real time. So for the rest of our time, we want to let you all kind of direct where we go. So we've prepared these 9 different topics that we wanted to touch on, or that we were able and ready to talk with you about. And I want to just introduce what they are, and then depending on whatever you think it sounds most interesting, we'll ask you to drop it in the chat, and we'll go there and just kind of let you all be a part of guiding where we go. Again, just an opportunity for us to model a little bit of how we're structuring our time with you, to let you be a little bit more in control than maybe you're typically are or could be if we just kind of went through our slides and told you from the beginning where we were going. So advisory councils are one thing that we can talk about, how we include student voices on those and what those are. YPAR stands for Youth Participatory Action Research, how we use that in our school and what that is. Photo Voice, we just touched on a little bit. We can explain a little bit more and give some examples. Student-led clubs, what that's looked like at Lakeview. Our restorative practices here. The Every Voice project that we've done in our building and what that looked like, and the student-created content from that. Student interviews is, I'm just going to get to ask Rugi and Belaine a couple of questions and see what their thoughts are on those. Culture Day is also an idea that some of our students have had that Rugi and Belaine would get to talk with us about. And then our social justice development class is another way in our school that we center student voices and give them some power. So based on those topics, what in the chat, just drop anything that you want us to hear, we want to hear about, and we'll go there. And Rugi and Belaine, will you let me know what is in the chat, because I can't always see it very well.
They want social justice development and Every Choice project. Every Voice.
Every Voice project. Okay, which one should we do first?
A lot of people are saying Every Voice.
Okay, let's go to the Every Voice project then. Thank you so much. So the Every Voice project is something that we did a few years ago as a qualitative needs assessment for our students. So we wanted to know, in student voices, in their own words, what their experiences were like over a couple of different topics. So our school counseling department, our interns, our counselors, the folks that we had in support services, just kind of through teacher referral and just our own kind of understanding of who the students were, we invited folks to participate in these interviews. And we asked them a handful of questions. We asked each week, we asked every student that we were working with for this project the same question, and we recorded their responses. So we really were just having a couple of conversations with students, maybe 10 to 12 students a week, and capturing what their responses were. And our intern that year, Danielle Culpepper, put it together into this kind of virtual yearbook as the type of project. So If you've seen like Humans of New York, think that kind of thing where people just get an opportunity to kind of share their story. And then we got to use this information as I kind of clicked through, because it helped us understand what student experiences were like. It helped us understand what it was actually like to be a student at our school. Because I can ask, I don't know, I think we found I can ask the question 100 times, and a lot of students aren't always willing to go deep or share all of what's going on. How many times have we all been asked, hey, how you doing? And our first answer is fine, I'm great, things are good. But that's not actually how people are feeling. That's not actually what their experience is. So this gave us an opportunity to kind of have that conversation. So I will go back. So some of the topics that we asked students about were their mental health. What's your experience with that as a 7th or 8th grader? What do you think our school culture is here at Lakeview? What's it like to actually be a student and live that every day? What's bullying like in our school? Is that something that you experience? Is that something that you don't experience? How much of an issue is it from your perspective, not from our perspective? What are relationships like between students and teachers from your side of the table? We talked about sense of belonging then too. This is a few years ago. It's been important for forever, I would guess, but we've been focusing on it for a little while. And then at the end of the year, we started to shift and give students more of this kind of retrospective opportunity. Like, what advice would you give to other folks, other students, and what do you think the lasting impact you can have on your school and things like that? And we won't go through all of these because I want to make sure we have some time to talk about some of the other topics. But if you experience mental health challenges, what does that look like for you during the school day? We asked that question, and then we captured our students' responses, and you can just see them in their own words. We thought it was important for us to not edit these, not put them together the way that we thought they should be, but to use students' own words. And it's not always exactly what I want to hear, right? Like I don't like having the thought that my students, when they think about their mental health, they think things like chaos and torture and those hard things. But if that's what they're feeling and that's what they want to express, I want them to have a space to do that. So that was kind of some of our idea behind how we could use this type of tool. Sometimes you just get really bored. Sometimes it's hard, but being able to see this and then see that other students had similar experiences, we heard from our students, was really something that was beneficial for them. And I think Rugi and Blaine maybe have something they'd like to say as well.
The comment where it says, sometimes I do not feel the best that day, and teachers don't understand. I feel like that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sometimes when we ask them to go to the office and we understand the rules, how like you have to fill out the Google form, but it's like sometimes we would like really need to talk that day, and like it would be nice if they could like understand and at least like talk to that teacher and see if they're not busy or anything.
Yeah, and like sometimes like when you just like your social battery like ran out or something, like they'll just point you out and stuff, and like just like call you out in front of everybody. And I feel like that's like that comment's like really true and relatable.
Yeah, and I love that, this is from a few years ago, but even you all reading it now are having that thought of, yep, that sounds right. And I like that one of our students that year also said, like, it affects your ability to learn, right? Like when you're having that bad day or it's frustrating or you're not, your social battery, like you said, is drained, it's harder to learn and it's harder to be on top of your stuff. All right, I want to just kind of jump around and share one more topic, and I'm just going to click and randomly land on this one here. So this seems like a lot of the same thing. So I'm not going to land on student-teacher relationships because Rugi and Belena already talked about that for us. What kind of things make you feel like you do belong? So as we talk about sense of belonging, these were some of the things that our students shared that year and got to just use their voice. Like, I feel like I belong at Lakeview because everyone's accepting here. So I feel like I fit in. I feel like I do belong. My friends are really supportive and help to make sure I'm doing okay. And I think we hear that from students a lot, that like friends are one of the most important things that happen at school. We already heard from Rugi and Belaine today that getting to have that opportunity to work with friends makes school just a lot better for a lot of our students. And I know this can feel a little bit like fishing or pandering, right? Because we want to talk about sense of belonging. Tell me how great Lakeview is and how well you belong here. Like, that's kind of a loaded question. But we also asked for the other side, like, what are the things that make you feel like you don't belong at our school? Because we wanted students to be able to speak to that as well. So we'll take a look at just a couple of those. And then we'll move back to the rest of our presentation and pick a new topic from your all's suggestions. But even just in these couple of responses, some things that I like about this type of intervention or this type of program that we did is that responses like, I don't feel like I belong here because I'm more quiet than anyone else and I don't really talk to anyone. If you can put yourself in the shoes of a quiet student, an introverted student, and seeing that response show up in a yearbook like this and knowing like, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one who is just too quiet to say anything. Other people around me feel that way too. But just by letting it be the student voice, I could say the same thing 25 times and nobody cares what I think. I'm an adult, I'm Mr. Max. But if the students are saying it, then sometimes the students will feel like it's more powerful as well.
I feel like it's really easy to make friends at this school. I mean, like, I'm not a quiet person, so I wouldn't know. But, like, I feel like people are really nice at this school. So like when people are quiet, like we'll like invite them to stuff. Like, and like at lunch, when people are sitting all alone, like the duty aides will like make cause there's like 7 at like a table, like that's the rule. But like the duty aides will like, what's it called? The duty aides will like invite them over to our table and, like twist up the rules a little bit to like let them feel welcome.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's one of the things that we've been focusing on this week, right? With our Start with Hello, all of the ways. And but the students are the ones who are doing those things, is in reaching out and making people feel like they're welcome. All right, we are going to come back to our topic board. And I remember, Rugi and Blaine, you had said social justice was one of the other ones people wanted to talk about. Okay, and make sure, I'm going to click on that one. And then when we're done with that, let me know what the next topic is for us, okay? Sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm not supposed to be talking the entire time. It just so happens that the first 2 topics that y'all chose are the ones that I'm supposed to be talking about. So I apologize that you're just getting the Ryan Max show. That's not the intent. Social justice development is a course that we started here just a couple of years ago in the school year that followed the murder of George Floyd. And it was a passion area of the teacher who was starting at Kyle James. And he worked really hard to build this curriculum where students could engage with social justice movements kind of throughout history in the United States. There are a couple of things that Kyle did in that class, and it centers Black history in the United States, and we go back to slavery up to present day. And the entire time that they're having that conversation, there's a focus on youth involvement in social justice movements over the course of that time. So we saw this class just take off. We piloted it 1 year. There were 50 students that got to be a part of it. The next year, there were 150 students that signed up. The year after that, 170. And what you don't see on this simple graph here is that the year 1, when we piloted it, was just at our school. And year 2, we actually got to implement this class in the other junior high building in our district. So it's probably more like 300 and then 350 students that wanted to participate in that. And I think part of the reason why is because they got to exercise their voice the way that in a way that they weren't necessarily used to. So the class talks a lot about this phrase, learn about it, talk about it, be about it. So it is still kind of a traditional learning environment. They learn some history pieces and they have these conversations, and then there's an action component of it, and they want students to get to participate in that action. Rugi and Blaine, I saw you guys unmuted. I didn't, I'll give you a chance here in just a second. All right, I'll come back to you. Okay. So from the beginning in this class, student voice is centered. So the first week, they make a classroom constitution together. They get to talk through, okay, what are the norms? What are the expectations? How do we interact in here? We're going to talk about some stuff. It's not always going to be comfortable. So what are the things that we want to be true about this space so that we know we can have good conversations in here and your voices can be heard. They do some work learning about their own identities and exploring their own cultures so that they can bring that to the conversations as well. And then a lot of it is student projects. So if we talk about YPAR in the rest of this presentation, we can talk more about it, but students get to identify some type of cause, some type of thing that they think needs to be changed, a passion area for them. They get to do the research. They get to come up with their suggestions, how they think we can take a step to kind of right this wrong. And that could be something in our school. That could be something in our community at large. Rugi, Belaine, did you have something you wanted to say about it?
No.
Okay, perfect. All right, what is our next topic that people wanted to hear about?
YARPAR and there was like another one, like wait. Okay, YARPAR and advisory councils.
Okay. All right. I know it was big talk about making everybody else's voice be centered at this. At some point, I'm going to let somebody else talk because we just keep picking the ones that I am responsible for. So after this, Mr. Baptist, I want to give you a chance to talk about some of the initiatives that you've been a part of, and selfishly, just to give my voice a break for a minute here. But YPAR is, I think Whitney just dropped in the chat a minute ago. I'm doing my best to monitor as well, but Youth Participatory Action Research. And it is, if you can kind of think about it, oh, no, you can't. Apparently not. Starting from the bottom going up, we kind of understand the idea of research and what that is, and this exploration and trying to find an answer to a question. Action research is something that we want. We think there's something that needs to change. We think that there's a need not being met, or something that's broken that needs to be fixed, or maybe an inequity that we're trying to address, or a gap. So we want to do something to fix that thing. So we're doing research so that we can take that action, and then it's participatory. So we're including the people who are impacted by it. And in this case, it's youth participatory action research. So we're including students in this research process so that they can take action to fix something that they think is broken. If you think about it in those 4 steps. And the example from our school of how that looked, this actually came out of our social justice class. It's not a real video, so you don't get to hear my awkward video voice, just my awkward live voice. But something that we don't celebrate enough, and I can't believe I haven't stood on more platforms to celebrate our students using their voice in this way. One of the projects in this particular year for social justice, there were several groups that were really interested in our student dress code. And in particular, it was female students, and they felt like our dress code was unfairly impacting female students. They thought that the language in it was specifically gendered, that it was there were more things that were restrictive for female students than there were for male students, and they started to take action. They did research, they found examples from other schools, they started a petition and got hundreds of signatures from folks, and they engaged. I don't know how many times we walked into our principal's office that year and got to have those conversations and continue to engage around this topic. And it didn't happen right away because they didn't get to see that year. It wasn't like everybody stood up and said, you know what, you're right, we're changing that. But when the dress code was revisited, I think at this point, Ben, all of the gendered language has been removed from it for the most part in terms of who is impacted by different parts of it. It's pared down into a much different set of regulations. And I think a lot of it came from the student voice and how they were able to kind of collect that research and use their voice and get to talk to administrators that year. Nope. All right. Ben, I'm going to make you talk now. I'm going to send things to you. Do you want to talk about student-led clubs or restorative practices?
Let's start with the clubs.
Okay.
So this, going back to sense of belonging, I'm trying to think what I'm going to say here on the spot now. Thank you, Mr. Max. So going back to sense of belonging, this has been a focus of ours for at least the past 3 years. This is my 4th year in the building. We actually made it this year. Our sense of belonging goal is our #1 goal in our building now. And I do want to give a quick shout out. I see there's Tara Fenton is in our presentation. If that is Tara Fenton, I know and I've worked with in the past. I want to give her a shout out for her work with our PBIS group, because we have taken a lot of ideas from her and her work with our district to really ramp up our PBIS initiatives. One of these is the student-led clubs. So trying to increase our student sense of belonging, we use the Panorama survey as a district. And if you're familiar with that, you know what that sense of belonging data looks like. Ours at the beginning of last year, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, we were sitting at around 34% of our students had a positive response toward the question of whether or not they feel like they belong at school. And when you think about it, 34% is a really low number. 1 in 3 students agrees that they feel a sense of belonging or a sense of connection to our school. So we wanted to really focus on that because we know that this really is the starting point for everything. If students don't feel like they belong, their attendance is most likely to suffer. When attendance is impacted, grades are impacted, behavior is impacted. So if we can really focus on the belonging piece, that is hopefully going to help everything else. One of the things that students we saw where we could improve with students was their connection to a club. At the junior high level, 7th and 8th graders, 12 and 13-year-olds, no one drives. So it's not as if students could stay after school to attend a club. Most of them ride home on the bus. So we, once a month, every Friday, we devoted 50 minutes of our day during our E&I time to student-led clubs. And the topics were completely student-driven. At the beginning of the year, students responded to a Google form listing 3 to 5 things that they were interested in. From those thousands of responses, we're a school of about 900 students. So, 3 to 5 responses per student. We developed this list that is now scrolling. Any Friday or any club day in a month, we're looking at around 30 different club activities that students can choose from. Again, completely student driven. We have staff volunteer to sign up to facilitate the club, but again, it's student driven. And it gives students a connection to the school. It gives students a connection to a club they likely wouldn't have otherwise, because like I said, students go home at the end of the day. So it's awesome to see students engage in that process. And then from that, Ryan was able to track, again, if you're familiar with Panorama, we do those surveys at the beginning and end of the year. We were able to create our own sense of belonging tracking, that students would respond to these belonging questions after each club day, because we really wanted to see where or how much these club days were impacting sense of belonging. So if you look at it at the 5th one down where it says belong, how much do you feel like you belong at school? If you remember back to that number, 34%, with these club days, we started at 52. But over the course of the year, we were in the mid to upper 50s. At the end of the year, the Panorama data showed, I think we were at 41%. And this is the first time, I think, since we've used Panorama that we increased that number during the course of the year. Typically what we've seen is students come in, they're excited to be back in school. The sense of belonging score or percentage is higher in the fall. Over the course of the year, things happen. And by the end of the year, a lot of people are ready to be done. So that we typically see that number dip by the end of the year. So it was awesome to see from spring to spring, we actually increased that number. Even fall to spring, we increased that number for the first time ever. I think we ended at 41 or 43, and we're trying to get even probably up to 50% this year, which on the whole is still a low number. Half of our students feel like they don't belong would be the other side of that. But we're excited to see this grow even more.
Mr. Baptist, we've got some students that would love to add something.
Yeah, go for it.
I think that club day is like really good because it helps students like meet other students outside of their teams. Because that's how like I made some of my friends too. Like club day is really fun and like you get to choose like from a like huge list because some people don't like the same things as other people. And like with club days, you get to meet people that like the same things as you, and you know like people that you'll not like never really see like on a normal day. That's it.
That's awesome, Rudy. Thank you for that. That's something honestly I didn't even consider as a benefit. We are a teamed building, so a lot of times students are together for most of the classes during the day, except for elective classes. They don't really get to interact with students on other teams. And that's something I never even thought of as a benefit that our students would enjoy, is just getting to interact with people they might not necessarily see during the day.
Mm.
Awesome. So I did see Whitney dropped a question in there about, does Panorama allow users to disaggregate the data? I already mentioned that I nerd out about a couple of things. Data is one of them, and it does allow you to disaggregate to a degree. So it kind of can show you, there's at least the platform or the parts of it that we've signed up for our district. There are individual level measures and there are building level measures. So the building level measures you can't assign to a specific student. I can't see who said what, but it does disaggregate some of them based on gender or race or I don't know if socioeconomic status is something that it can do or not off the top of my head, but English language learner status or special education and things like that. For the individual level measures, you can disaggregate as many different ways as you want, because you can see for things like emotion regulation or self-awareness and things like that, what each student, how their skills are developing. Okay, we've got 8 minutes left. And Rugi and Belaine, I want to give you the choice, because you've done such a good job of speaking up and participating as leaders in this space, that I feel like you've gotten to be a part of our presentation. But because we worked on that Culture Day piece in the student interviews, I wanted to give you the choice if you wanted to go to one of those or if you wanted to let the participants choose again.
Do we have like enough time for 2? Because somebody wanted advisory councils. If you don't have enough time, like we could do Culture Day.
Okay. Let's talk about Culture Day, and then I will give the world's fastest summary of what advisory councils are and how students are involved, to make sure that we cover that. So I'll introduce a little bit of this and then let you guys talk about it, and I'll help make sure that we end on time and all of that. But I was really excited last year because, Rugi, you and another student approached me and we're just really straightforward. Like, hey, we need to have a Culture Day here. We need to do something like this at our school. So I'm curious. I know we've talked about it a little bit kind of this week and last week and since then, but where did you hear that idea, or like where did you come up with the idea for a Culture Day?
Sadly, that the other girl that came up with the idea with me is not, but we saw it like on TikTok.
Yeah.
So we had seen a video and like people like dressing up for Culture Day and stuff, and we're like, why don't we have a Culture Day? Like, you know, because Richview also has one. So we're like, we need to go talk to Mr. Max about this. So then we went to Mr. Max, we talked to him, sat down with him, and planned it out last year, but we didn't end up having enough time to like actually have it. So we're planning on doing it this year.
Do you remember any of the other, because I think you talked to some other people about it too.
Yeah.
Some other teachers. Do you remember who they were, why you were talking to them?
We also talked to, it was an intern, I just don't really remember her name.
Okay.
Talked to Mrs. I don't remember her name, but we talked to a teacher and an intern about it.
Okay. So started having some more conversations about it. And then I'm going to go to the next slide because you had some really good ideas of like the different types of things that you thought should be a part of Culture Day. Can you talk a little bit about what some of those were?
So we want to send out a like Google form, like that has like a bunch of questions on it, like about, okay, so first we're thinking Culture Day to be like during fall time. Like
Mhm.
we not do E&I, and the 7th graders and the 8th graders would be separated. And like we would have music, like on the Google form, it would like say like one suggestion, like about like what song you want, and
Mhm.
then have like a playlist, make a playlist, and then play that like during like the time. So me and like this girl named Taraji, we would go on the stage and like have a speaker and talk to them about Culture Day, and then we would make like we would pass out these big like boards or like posters, and
Posters. Yeah.
it would all be, and people would be like divided like into their own cultural like places, and then they would all make a poster about their culture.
I loved when you brought that idea up in my office the other day, that just like you talked about with Club Day, you were thinking of this the same way. Like it would give you an opportunity to meet more people that shared your culture too, which is not a part that I had thought about. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, so like you're not the only person that's like that there's other people who have the same culture as you. And we would also you could also bring a little like cultural snack like into school and dress up, like wear your cultural stuff, and it would be like an opportunity to like share your culture and tell people about it. Because I also told Mr. Maxis, like sometimes people like offend you, like your culture, but they don't mean to, because they don't know about it. So like that's a chance for people to tell other people and expose them to different cultures and new cultures that they've never, knew about.
Yeah.
So
I'm blown away every time I hear you talk about it, honestly. I think it's such a cool idea, and these were some of the things that you had shared, Belaine and Rugi, while we were talking about this presentation, that your idea for Culture Day would help people know that they're not alone, like you said. You already talked about some of these things too, so I don't even need to repeat them. But I love that quote, or that idea that you had, that sometimes people are disrespectful, and we see that in our school, right? Like sometimes that happens, but you also think that if we got a chance to come together and teach each other about our cultures, that maybe that would happen less.
mhm. And like that way people are heard and they don't feel like alone and left out of stuff. So like when people present their posters, everybody will know like about their culture.
Mm-hmm.
And also we wanted to talk about, I don't know if this goes with the topic, but we also wanted to talk about lunch.
Oh man. All right, we have 2 minutes left. So, I feel so bad. I feel like we have to table the lunch part. I know that you and I wanted to talk about lunch. You had a really good idea about, you want to talk about lunch today, or you want to talk about other lunch ideas?
No, we don't have to talk about today, but what they're serving us.
Yeah. Do you want to share real quick about what that idea was related to lunch, and then like in 30 seconds or less, and then we gotta wrap up.
So the other day they gave us a pork sub, and we noticed that like the majority of us, we couldn't be able to eat it because it's part of like our culture. We're not supposed to be eating pork. And we were hoping that like they could start serving something that like everyone is able to eat. Because like there could be people that are like, oh, I like pork, or I don't like turkey bacon. But like not in a rude way, but like that really doesn't matter, because like with us, we don't really have a choice whether we want to eat pork or not.
Yeah. Like they never really do this, but like when they did, like there's always the other option, which is like hot dogs. But I feel like they could sometimes just like use beef, pork, or like there's like anything else other than pork. Like you could always use beef, pork, turkey. Yeah, turkey.
I'm so glad that Mr. Baptist is in the room so that he can hear you share about that, right? When we have Italian sub day, that maybe leaves out a portion of our students that we didn't realize we were forcing into a specific type of lunch for the day. Rugi and Belaine, I'm so grateful that you stayed after school on a Friday to be a part of this presentation with us. I'm going to click through, nope, not that way. I'm going to click this big X here that I put as a reminder for myself to get to the end. I will share these slides, Whitney, with you so that you can make them available to folks. But that's our time. We ran out of time, not surprisingly, but thank you all so much for being here.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for this presentation, for sharing all your knowledge. I'm so inspired. I hope we can do a part 2 again soon. Please, everyone, join me in thanking the presenters in the chat. This has been a great way to end the summit and the day. I'm going to put in the chat as those comments come through. I might put it in a few times. Please make sure to take our survey by following the link. I'm going to get that here in just a moment. These surveys will be used to administer contact hours, so it's critical that you take the survey if you're seeking credit. And again, thank you so much for being with us for this session, for the summit. If you're still using social media, keep the conversation going on Twitter using the hashtag OHSummit23, and visit us at ohiofamiliesengaged.osu.edu/summit. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. Thank you, Ryan and Ben and Belaine and Sarah, and thank you, everyone. This has been a great day.